Hey guys, this is Zyger. I just wanted to bring you a short video here about the state of Diablo 3 and really, as it comes to it, the optimal state of what I hope Diablo 3 will eventually be. I just want to go through some of the more recent changes, some things I like, some things I don't like, and some recommendations I have for this game. So, for about 10 months, there's been very little content in this game. The Necromancer, I think, was released in the summer of 2017, and since then, it was a fun class. It's a fun class to play. There's several builds that are viable. It was really powerful at first, and then they brought the other classes kind of up to the par of the Necromancer. But it was a good addition. People had some fun with it, especially for the first two seasons that it was available, and it was a good addition. But I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I like so far. So, the first one I think is the armory system. This was an incredible addition to the game because back in the day, in the first few seasons, what you had to do was create a composition of a meta. So you would get four players to play with each other, and you'd have to iron out builds to support the whole party. And sometimes what you would do is you would have one set for quick rift running. You'd have one set for rift pushing. You'd even have another set for the rift trials that used to exist. And by the way, that's another good addition that they took those out. That was horrendous. But anyways, this made changing the outfits really cumbersome. It could take 15 minutes for people to change their gear, their skills, and their abilities. It just was really tedious, and I'm really glad that that's been taken away. Primal weapons and items, I think that's a good idea. Primal items are very hard to get, they're very rare. There's not really a good way of targeting them. That's my only, I guess, gripe, because what will happen is basically, almost by necessity, the person that gets an incredible primal weapon will automatically have a lot of greater tier leverage over almost all the other players in the game just from that. All other things notwithstanding, obviously other gear, skill, things like that. But nonetheless, primal is a good addition to the game because I guess it adds a small new incentive for people to keep playing. The other thing that I think is pretty good is class balance. Now, I'll talk about this in two ways. So class balance is as such that right now most of all the classes are within about 10 greater rifts of each other for the top level. So right now, let's just take a look at the leaderboards. We have a Crusader that did a 122 solo. We have a Demon Hunter that did a 112. So that's within 10. Monk is 112. Necro 118. Witch Doctor 111, so that's 11 away. And 117 for the Wizard. So within 11 greater rift levels, the classes are relatively balanced. Actually, that's pretty good parity compared to how Diablo 3 has been historically. And it's good because I had been complaining for a few seasons, make the Necromancer, bring him down to the rest of the classes, or bring the rest of the classes up to the Necromancer. And I also had been saying, the Crusader is not even played anymore. For a while, the Crusader was almost not played, especially in the 4-player meta. And I really think they've done a good job with that when they've refined some of the sets. Now you have the Condemn build with the Con set as being the most powerful set in the game for greater rift pushing. And it is really powerful. I'm glad it's viable. It's not my favorite of the Crusader specs to play with of all time, but it is a pretty good set, and it's got some nostalgia for people. This was a big set that people used in the first few seasons, and it was pretty powerful. One gripe I have about the game, and it's never really gone away since it was introduced, is that blood shards are too overpowered, I feel. Blood shards give a shortcut to allow you to accrue too many good items too quickly, I think, and actually takes away from some of the long-term incentives to keep playing the game. The other thing I think is too powerful is the Canai's Cube recipe that allows you to upgrade rare item. So one of the initial draws in the first few seasons of Diablo 3 was the inability for you to get, your best in slot weapon for, weeks at a time, sometimes months at a time. And you'd think that, well, why would I hate on that? Well, when you get the best in slot item, which can be like day one or day two if you're really grinding hard and pushing the season pretty hard, it just takes away a little bit of, the celebratory mood that you would get in when you got just an amazing weapon. And, some of the items, like, for instance, this is a furnace. It's the best in slot weapon for the Condemn build for Crusader. I think that the Crusader only has something like 6 two-handed maces. So with all other variables notwithstanding, you have a 1 in 6 chance of getting the furnace. If there is 6, I think there is 6. So it just makes it pretty easy to get those things right away. And then with the latest few patches, really the only changes have been class balance changes. There's been a few item changes, a few set changes, which is pretty good. But no new content has really been added. And it's kind of incredible because Diablo 3 is one of the highest selling computer games of all time. Now, it doesn't net the consistent money for Blizzard like World of Warcraft does, where players pay a subscription rate monthly or three months at a time, etc. But still, you'd think that they could put out more content to keep people in this game. This game's really become something of a graveyard. When a new season is launched, sometimes my friend list will have like 10 to 15 people, but day 3, day 4, day 7, it starts to whittle down. Right now, I mean, I have a pretty huge friend list, but I only have 2 friends that are playing this season right now. I mean, this game is dying as far as the season goes, and I think a lot of it is due to the fact that no new content is being added. I mean, they could go a long way by just adding, 10 new items per season. Add 10 new items, you can get the dev crew together to contemplate this, come up with some cool abilities, test them on the PTR, let the player base test it to iron out all the kinks, then put them into the new season. That would go, a long way, I think, for many fans. I do kind of like the competitive aspect of the leaderboards, but again, the game is not really played that hardcore anymore. We do have a 4-player team that's done 138, and that's probably the highest it's ever been done. And there is some competition at the top, but the amount of hardcore guilds or clans that used to exist in this game used to be, very numerous. Now, there's really only a few, and not many people play this game. So that's where I see the state of Diablo 3 at. I really hope that new content gets pumped into this game, or at the very least we hear about Diablo 4. For the Diablo 3 not to get another expansion, I'd be a little bit surprised because this game, again, one of the highest selling games, and players love the Diablo franchise, especially Blizzard players. Even though Blizzard players have gone off to other games when Diablo 3 is kind of dead, like World of Warcraft, StarCraft 2, etc., Heroes of the Storm, they still are willing to come back if they have incentive via new content. And I think one of the issues with this is a lot of the dev team for the Diablo 3 team seems to have kind of gotten disrupted and went to other games, like John Yang. I know some people have kind of went to different games, went to different company, and that seems to kind of disrupt some of the progress that was being made. So Diablo 3, it's come a long way. Still think there's some issues, but that is where we're at.